taken in 1961 in a short window period before I went away to college after I matriculated. And somehow or other, I never got to see the movie. And it had been in the back of my mind for a long, long time. And fortuitously bumping into William, who I didn't know personally, but one had seen him all over TV, etc., all these years, we bumped into him at a tourism meeting last year. And I thought, God, I'm going to ask him about the movie. And he said he didn't know where it was. He remembered me immediately. And he said he tried to find it. And then nothing happened at all. And this year I saw him again in Knysna and reminded him. So that started the whole revival, I think.
Welcome to a film called The Garden Route. If you're expecting a Cecil B. DeMille production, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. The actors in this movie have never been in front of a camera before. In fact, both of them were born in George and brought up in the area. And the production team was a group of students who'd also never made a movie before, but their lack of experience and knowledge, I think, was more than made up by their great enthusiasm for the project.
William, why did you make that movie in the early 1960s?
You know, I have often been accused of having confidence born of ignorance. And yes, I think that's probably a good answer. I had absolutely no idea what we were going to do. It was a thought, and we did it.
William, you're a pioneer. I mean, you eventually became the owner of one of the largest tourism attractions in the Garden Route, and at that time you were marketing the Garden Route as a...
Yeah, you know, when I saw the film recently, it struck me as being absolutely true, because it's probably the very first marketing production ever done in tourism in this area.
In this area,
yeah,
it's wonderful.
Amazing, isn't it?
And you used the story of two young people meeting for a holiday.
Yes.
And it was Carol and Pieter.
Yes.
How did you find them? Do you
You
remember?
know, I honestly don't remember.
Pieter Snyman, you starred with Carol Malan in the movie that William made in the early 1960s about the Garden Route. How did you get involved?
As far as I can recall, we responded to an ad in the George and Knysna Herald at that time, asking for potential actors to come forward for this movie. And after the response, I ended up as the chosen man.
And the final auditions were held in the cinema in Knysna, you said?
The final auditions, as far as I can recall, were held in Knysna, in the cinema there, and we were proposed and put forward and put on stage and chosen.
And we've now been able to find Carol and Pieter again. They're still living in the Garden Route.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
I mean, it's stunning to think that these two people that were there as teenagers, etc., are both in this area. It's wonderful.
But there's an even deeper sort of story that goes into this. Apparently Carol has never seen the finished production.
No, she hasn't. And I think Pieter's forgotten what he saw as well. Yeah, no, in fact, it was Carol that found Carol that made me find the movie.
Oh.
She came up to introduce herself and said, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "I haven't a clue." She said, "Well, I'm Carol Malan." And I said, "Good Lord."
Yeah.
And she said, "I've never seen the movie." And my wife was with us and she said, "Well, let's go and find that damn movie."
Yeah.
What was it like working with him all those years ago?
Our newfound fisherman friend did not mind us in the least and was quite willing to explain. The worm, he said, lived under such a cone-shaped depression in the sand.
You know, I don't really remember. I wish I remembered it all. I don't remember very much about it. I was free. I had just matriculated. I couldn't wait to start my life. I remember quite well William's parents or his mum, the rather strict environment that we were kept to, the discipline during the filming, which I probably balked against. And what I do remember is the exquisite freedom of behaving like a grown-up person, like an adult.
You had a lot of fun.
Yes, we had a lot of fun.
It was lovely. William was a very dynamic person, and as far as I can recall, he wasn't married in that stage, and he had a lovely girlfriend, and she was very supportive, and we had no clue of what to do, but we got steered in the right way.
You've had to rebuild the soundtrack because you lost the magnetic strip. What is the story?
We had arranged to meet at the Snack and Snort, the Royal Hotel's delightful beer garden, which offers the tired man everything and boasts of the best seafood in town. Now look, first of all, in those days, remember, we were pioneering movies, and anything with audio had to go onto magnetic strip. So we shot it on 16mm. We had no money for a copy, so we took the film to the camera, cut it up, spliced it, and used that as the master. And we had no other copies, and to put the sound on, we had to use a magnetic strip. When we downloaded, we found that the picture had deteriorated, but the sound was gone. The magnetic strip had disintegrated. So we had to go back on the script, pick it up, rewrite it, well, not rewrite it, but just pick it up what we said. And Leslie Snyman, who was an attorney at Maritzburg High Court in those days, did the commentary. I had to hop in and just do the commentary based on the commentary of 50 years ago.
So you still had that text?
No, it was on the film, but you had to stray.
You had to stray.
There were odd little spots where we had to say, "No, I'm sure I said that. I'm sure this was said." So yeah, but it's very close to the original.
What are you expecting to see when you see this movie in about 10 days' time?
I have no idea. I'm expecting to see a gauche young girl who I may or may not recognize as myself. I hope I'm not going to embarrass myself. But also, I'm looking forward to seeing the garden route the way I remember it as a child.
And yet you say that the garden route hasn't been destroyed.
The garden route will never be destroyed. I've lived here 64 years, and the intrinsic beauty and what the garden route means for me will never be destroyed. It can never be destroyed.
Have you seen the movie?
I seem to remember that I saw it, it was screened for a select bunch of people in the Neisner movie house.
Was that the Gem? Or was that a different cinema?
That was an old cinema, you know, the same as the one in George's old one. It doesn't exist anymore, so I really can't say. I can't even remember. Yeah.
And now the garden route, as you see it today, it's obviously changed quite a lot. Do you think it's changed for the better?
You know, the tragedy is that the garden route, I think, has not changed for the better. The garden route used to be a retreat where people could come and get away from it all, but it's the old Natal syndrome, most least, and I think it's caught up with it, this area as well. There's a huge amount of development to the detriment of what it was supposed to be.
I was in marketing and marketing of one kind of another all my working days. At the moment, after initiating an NGO for young school leavers, that was very meaningful late working period of my life in Pieter. I am running a self-catering guest house, and I now call myself an artist. I've been drawing and painting for the last few years, and that's all I want to do.
And you yourself have retired from a career as an airline pilot.
Yeah, I was with South African Airways for 34 years, and then I spent another 5 years in China.
And there's quite a lot of aerial shots in William's movie. You didn't fly that plane.
No, I didn't, because I only went on a wings course in the South African Air Force in 1961.
That was after you completed the movie.
Yeah, it was afterwards, as far as I can recall, yeah.
And tell me, how do you feel about the going to see yourself as you were 50 years ago next week?
I think it's going to be quite hilarious. And I think I'm banning all my friends from Sedgefield for going with me, because the hilarity of the moment might get to all of us.
Carol, you're looking forward to seeing this movie, obviously.
I really am. It's been 50 years, my God. I want my husband to see it. I want my grown-up boys to see what their mother was like 50 years ago.
Have you got any grandchildren?
Yes, I want my grandchildren to see.
Looking back on 50 years in tourism in the garden route, how do you feel about it now?
Oh, it's been great. Well, what a place to market. What a place to live in. What a place to come to. A wonderful way to end a fabulous holiday.